Hello and welcome to this video special from the Mossad files with Dan Raviv and Yossi Melman. We're reacting here to the New York Times scoop on Wednesday night, reported from both Washington and from Israel, that said that Israel had a definite plan to attack Iran's nuclear facilities next month in May, but President Trump blocked it. You may recall that Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu was invited to the White House, and at that meeting in public, President Trump said that the U.S. and Iran would begin direct talks about Iran's nuclear program. So it turns out, at least as the New York Times reports it, that President Trump considered what Israel was privately proposing, and that President Trump decided to try diplomacy, at least at first. The New York Times article also said something about methodology, the kind of thing you don't usually see leaking out of Israel. So perhaps it came from American sources who'd been briefed by Israel, that sure, the Air Force would be used, Israel's Air Force. Israel hoped that the United States would also take part to pound Iran, but attacks on nuclear facilities might be carried out by Israeli commando soldiers who could land, in my experience, that could be by low-flying helicopters. They could land, say, this is just me, based on old plans that I've heard from Israeli commandos, many of them retired, and they said that Israeli troops could land in the middle of the desert and move forward, even hiking for dozens of miles to get to, let's say, an isolated nuclear facility in Iran, and they could take over the base, go down the elevator if it's buried deep underground, kill all the guards, lay explosives, and destroy the nuclear facility that way. That's pretty much what the New York Times was saying would be part of the Israeli battle plan. Also, the Times said that within the circle of American officials, there were disagreements as to whether this plan would work or not. But again, President Trump decided to try diplomacy. And from that, here in Washington, we take you to Tel Aviv and my podcast and writing partner, Yossi Melman, with his reaction to the Times story.
Netanyahu has been trying to persuade the U.S. For a decade and a half to attack Iran's nuclear sites. He tried it under Obama, he tried it under Trump, and he tried it under Biden, and now once again he is coming up with the same scenario, with the same proposal, with the same idea. Netanyahu, with his Messianic views, believes that he is the savior of Israel, and Iran must be stopped of having nuclear weapons. I think this is shared by all American administrations, but the big question is when it will be the moment when Iran would decide to rush to the bomb. So far, we know that Iran has been advancing its nuclear program, but coming short of assembling a bomb. So Netanyahu came to the White House a few weeks ago, I think 2 weeks ago, met with Trump and told him, let's do it together. The Israeli Netanyahu plan is to conduct a combined attack, to sending commandos and under the cover of air strikes, American Israeli air strikes, to bomb the various nuclear sites that are needed to be bombed, not just the uranium enrichment facility, but also the laboratories when they weaponize the weapon once and when they decide to do it. And Iran has spread its nuclear locations around the country, which is a vast country, and therefore it would be very difficult to get access and to reach all these sites, assuming that the intelligence is there. Nevertheless, I think that what is happening is that Netanyahu came to the White House and Trump told him in very clear and simple terms, I want to negotiate. and it's not the time to strike. And above all, Israel, cannot do it alone. For example, Israel doesn't have the Buster bombs which the US Air Force has. These bombs can penetrate deeply into the fortified underground nuclear sites of Iran, like Natanz and Fordow, where Iran is enriching its uranium, where Iran is storing the centrifuges. So, all in all, I think that without Israel all in all, I think that without the United States, Israel clearly cannot strike Iran's nuclear sites, and certainly strike in such a way that the damage would pull back Iran at least one year or even more from reaching the threshold of assembling a nuclear bombs. And Iran has enough now enriched uranium to produce 6 or 7 or even 8 nuclear bombs. Still, they lack them delivery means, the missiles that can be, the warheads that can be fitted on the missiles which they have, but the technology is still not there. But it's interesting that Netanyahu doesn't give up, and he's trying time and again. Trump is not interested in striking Iran. He wants to negotiate. The negotiation has opened already. And even if the negotiations fails, I'm not sure that Trump would order the US military or would give Israel the green light to attack Iran, because the ramifications, not just for Israel and the United States, are huge. Iran already declared that once it is attacked, it would retaliate. It would retaliate against Israel. Okay, Israel has a very good air defenses, and we saw it in last April, when most of the Iranian rockets and missiles were intercepted by joint, by the way, US and American and coalition partner effort. So I think that Israel would not do it, and probably we will settle for less than that. And Netanyahu is not in a mood to be brazen and to disobey Trump's instructions, orders, whatever you call it.